radio show with your host, Lonnie Clark. We stand together and accept that we now live in a world transformed by Fukushima. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here on UCY.TV radio. We relentlessly engage every ear that listens. We expose and confront the complete lack of accountability for the nuclear industry. Consider social engineering programs who view our bodies, minds, and souls as assets on a balance sheet. We discuss vital current issues, interview activists, and engage our audience in an effort to allow all voices to be heard. The Age of Fission radio show creates a venue that all will choose. We encourage our listeners to reclaim their power and their courage to take action and save our planet from the ravages of greed and indifference. Our actions matter. Every voice matters. We remind our listeners that happiness is resistance. Love is greater than fear.
Good morning, UCY.TV radio listeners. This is Lonnie Clark with the Age of Fission radio show. Thank you for joining us. Today is December 29th, 2016. Just a few days left of this terrible year. Thank goodness. I honestly don't think I recall having a worse year for our country in a very long time. Maybe 2001 when the government attacked our country at 9/11. That's what I think happened. I don't think it was the government. I think it was the deep state. And I think that's what we're seeing play out right now is the deep state. So I did have an interview lined up with Ryan Anderson. He's a water protector. I've been making an effort to get in touch with water protectors to have them interview and update us because I don't think we can separate the pipeline issues. All of these issues are all mezclados. They're all mixed up. So I have been attempting to, and something came up with Ryan. I hope he will be able to call in. His name is Ryan Anderson. I hope that he'll be able to call in and speak with us. I did leave him my number. I don't know if that's going to happen. So I'm going to move on, as I ought to do, and I'm going to talk to you about a website that I found through a link on Dr. Helen Caldicott's website, the Helen Caldicott Foundation.org. It's called FukuLeaks.org, and I don't know if many of you have seen it, but I actually have not. I think I saw it a long time ago, and then my brain got busy and I forgot all about it. But if you want to be updated on what is going on about, frankly, the whole thing with Fukushima, the whole disaster that's going on, this page is very, very extensive. There is an article there that was written December 22nd, 2016 by Nancy Faust, F-O-U-S-T. And the title of it says, Fukushima disaster may take a turn due to Trump. And she's, you know, I hesitate. They have this huge disclaimer at the bottom of the page. It says, reserves of rights cited, quoted, etc. from other sources is under copyright of that content owner. So, I think I can actually read it. It is out on the internet, so I am going to read parts of it because this article is super excellent. It really does define what might happen. And, you know, we all have to kind of keep our heads about what's going to happen with the Trump administration. I am sort of a doomer about him. I have like the worst sinking feelings. I think we're already seeing him have a complete disregard for governance. He has not been attending the national security count the national security updates. So he doesn't really have any idea what he's talking about when he talks about national security because he's not being informed of the inside information. Some people have told me they think that's a good thing. So, because he's not being brainwashed. Well, he doesn't need to be brainwashed. He's going to click his heels and say Sig Heil. So let me give you out our phone numbers, and let's see if either one of these will work. 718-717-8296 or 718-717-8106. So if you want to give me a call, we can talk about anything you want. Please do. The number is 718-717-8106. So I'm going to read from this article because I thought it was really great. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was one of the first leaders to scurry to New York to meet Trump after he won the U.S. election. What Prime Minister Abe did upon returning home was much more telling regarding the results of that visit. Soon after returning to Japan, talks with Russia began, and a summit was hastily arranged. Usually these kinds of diplomatic meetings involve broad economic or political issues. This one created a major turn of events for Fukushima Daiichi. Part of the new agreements between Japan and Russia include this, quote, "The Japanese government and Rosatom State Nuclear Energy Corp. Agreed upon cooperation in helping with the cleanup from the 2011 disaster at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, including radioactive waste management and possible decommissioning. The two sides already have been discussing working together on uranium exploration and mining, design, construction, and operation of light water reactors, waste processing and management, nuclear safety, including radiation protection and environmental control, research and application radioisotopes and radiation. Other areas based on additional written agreements between the parties," Rosatom said. Excuse me, I have a bit of a cold. I'm going to cough. Hold on. Sorry about that, folks. There's a major turn of events for Japanese policy. The U.S. has been the major player in urging Japan to adopt nuclear technology in the 50s and has been an almost exclusive partner in this sector ever since. Over the decades, the U.S. has become in many ways dependent on Japan to keep the U.S. nuclear power industry afloat as the technology waned domestically. What began as U.S. nuclear power companies such as GE and Westinghouse have morphed into Japanese-owned multinationals Hitachi GE and Toshiba Westinghouse. After the disaster at Fukushima Daiichi, the U.S. and nuclear industry contractors came looking to gain contracts for technology and services needed to deal with the aftermath. The U.S. Department of Energy, on a diplomatic level, saw it as part of being a good partner and part of cash flow as part cash cow for smaller U.S. contractors. Currently, many of the technologies and supplies for the disaster site come from U.S.-based companies. Now, Japan pivots towards Russia. They are looking to open contracts at Fukushima Daiichi to Russian firms, including Russian-owned Rosatom. There is also an agreement to foster nuclear power technology with Russia. These diplomatic changes could drastically impact current and future contracts for U.S. companies. It is not clear yet how this may impact French or British participation in the disaster response. Russia's nuclear power technology capabilities are largely unknown in the West, at least in any depth. This new situation may also cause problems where the U.S. and other existing participating countries could balk at Russian companies having access to their technology being used on site. While all of this may be the sphere of corporate profits and international diplomacy, it could have a very real impact on the decommissioning work at Daiichi. If companies or countries pull support out of fear of leaking protected technologies, it could cause supply chain or timeline problems at the site. It could complicate on-site work if various parties begin staking out territory among the cleanup work or trying to restrict access to certain parts of the site. Russia could potentially possess technology not currently available that might expedite some of the problematic changes on site. There may also be unexpected disruptions with the work or changes that take place. The series of events and abrupt nature so soon after Abe's meeting in the U.S. indicates he did not see a reliable partner in Trump, at least on this issue. I guess not when he had his daughter in the meeting. What a jerk. Back to this story. I apologize for the commentary. U.S. business interests appearing to be hitting back with this article in Bloomberg accusing Japanese interests of not allowing U.S. companies to fairly bid or receive contracts for work at Fukushima Daiichi. The article erroneously describes contracts being awarded to IRID. IRID is a committee formed to guide the research needed to decommission the disaster site. Then they award funds to proposals submitted to IRID from around the world. Japanese companies do tend to have an advantage over foreign companies in business and contracts in general, but this is nothing new. The Bloomberg story seems to be a response to Japan's new agreement with Russia. This article would not have been possible without the extensive efforts of Simply Info research team. Join the conversation at chat.simplyinfo.org. Wow. So that is a pretty stunning article. I wanted to share that because people are talking about how Trump does, to my point that Trump has no idea what he's talking about. That was a major, major disaster for him to have invited his daughter into a meeting with Shinzo Abe the first time he met him. Abe went right over to Russia and said, we probably need a backup because these guys are going down the tank. They've got somebody who's dim-witted at the helm now. And we do have dimwits at the helm. We actually have sinister dimwits at the helm. I hope to God that Congress does not allow Pete Sessions to become the Attorney General. Was it Pete Sessions that he's appointed? I think that's who it was. I mean, the people that Trump has on his cabinet, frankly, are worse, in my view, than what Bush put on his cabinet. So we've got some serious things confronting us in the future. So on this page, simplyinfo.org, there is a page called News and Info, Important Links. There's also a page, if you want to look at the documents, it says U.S. NRC documents, NRC FOIA documents, NRC Fukushima transcripts, Japanese government documents, Japan Diet Fukushima report documents, Japan nuclear company documents, seismic research. This link was found through the Helen Caldicott Foundation. And so for people that are out there that are doubting that Helen Caldicott is doing all that she can to help our planet overcome the crime of nuclear energy, I seriously disagree with you. I'm going to open up another link since this is kind of an impromptu day. Let me give you out the phone number if you want to give me a call, 718-717-8106. 718-717-8106. And I don't know if you can actually call me or not, but I hope so. I think I figured out this phone thing. I'm going to open up this part of the links that says important links because we are basically all being fried from Fukushima. Oh, wow. This page on important links has a whole page of Daiichi contractors, Daiichi-related agencies, technical tools, live chats, copyright, photo gallery. This is actually a very awesome page, you guys. I would strongly suggest that you bring yourselves here. It's called fukuleaks.org, simplyinfo.org. Uh, it is amazing. There are actually people out there doing work, updating these things. And at the top of this page, it's kind of awesome because they have like a scrolling thing that has the most current articles that have been written in regards to Fukushima. Uh, let me see. There's an article that said Fukushima Unit 2 containment starts. Chaos breaks out at Fukushima food meeting in Taiwan. Frozen wall failure signals drastic changes at Fukushima Daiichi. Fukushima. Oh, great. Let me see if we can add our call. Hold on just one second. Good morning. You're on the air with Lonnie Clark and the Age of Fission radio show. Let me see if we'll put this on. It says it's going to put you on hold, guys, but I'm going to answer it and see what happens. For goodness sakes, I have not been able to figure this out, and we have gone through all kinds of hoops. Let me see. So that certainly didn't work. Michael called in, and we were not able to connect these calls. I have no idea, folks. We have jumped through all kinds of hoops with Skype and talked to Skype on lots of issues on this issue. For some reason, we cannot get anyone to call my Skype. So that's a bit annoying. I'm going to have to actually put them back on the phone. I mean, I'm actually paying for Skype so that we can actually take calls in. This isn't working. My options are so that I can have anybody call in, and it's just not working. Every time someone calls in, it puts the radio show on hold. So this idea of people being able to call in on my radio show is just for some reason not happening. I'm going to have my tech guy today attempt to deal with this. Maybe what we're going to have to do is unload Skype and load it back on. Maybe we'll do it that way, or maybe I'll have to get a new username. I don't know, but I'm going to address it in one way because it's a bit annoying. I apologize, folks, for those of you who are attempting to call in and engage. I really want to do that, so I'm not going to give up on it. You know, perseverance brings success. So I am going to do this. I want to read this article. It says, Are mechanics going to Fukushima Daiichi? Probably not. So this is interesting. When was this written? December 23rd. And both these articles have been written by Nancy Faust, F-O-U-S-T, which is awesome because she's seriously paying attention to all the small details at Fukushima. News began showing up earlier this week claiming that they were going to send a mech-style robot at work at Fukushima Daiichi. If you are not familiar, these are a walking robotic platform with a pilot. The concept is popular among anime and futuristic sci-fi genres. A Korean company claimed a scaled-down version of their mech would be a wheeled platform and put into use at Fukushima Daiichi. This may be more wishful thinking than the actual plan. None of the planned decommissioning work requires this kind of equipment. It would also be redundant versus existing on-site equipment. It also poses a number of drawbacks that would make this type of equipment of little use. Already on site is the medium-sized robot platform Meister Robot, that's M-E-I-S, all in capital letters, small e, large R, robot, which is being used in the reactor buildings and includes various robotic and manipulator arms. The robot is operated remotely. The site also has a variety of remotely operated heavy equipment pieces with cutters and manipulator arms. They have been used extensively to remove smaller debris from Unit 3 and 4. The drawback to this mech is that it requires a pilot to be seated in the equipment while it is operating. Remote equipment has been used on site to avoid exposing workers to high levels of radiation. You think? Seating a worker in a glass-encased pod provides no shielding protection from radiation. This makes its use anywhere near the reactor buildings a negative versus existing other equipment. So while all of this sounds very cool and futuristic, it may be more of a sales ploy than a reality. Again, this statement, this article would not be possible without the extensive efforts of Simply Info research team. Join the conversation at chat.simplyinfo.org. So this is a pretty extensive website, folks, and I would strongly suggest that you go there. And I think what I'll do is we'll go to the NRC nuclear alert, since, we might as well. I have an unexpected day here of speaking with you on my own. Beg your pardon. Hold on. So December 23rd, event notification and reports. Let's see what they are going to tell us today. Wow, they already have 2017 listed as a date. So somebody's working at the NRC. So let's look at 2016. Let's look at December 29th. Let's look at this one and see what it says. That's the thing. Never a dull moment with the NRC. They allow us just to get poisoned daily. So there's always something going on. Power reactor, North Anna, Virginia. Non-emergency off-site notification. Made for potential fuel oil leakage. Potential fuel oil leakage. Right. I start spitting nails when I hear this. The original event happened on 12/15. There's an update. This is a follow-up report regarding off-site notification of the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality for potential fuel oil leakage from the supply line of Unit 2H emergency diesel generator. Let's hear what they're going to tell us. During the investigation of the potential fuel oil leak from 2HBEDG tank day supply line, the 2HA fuel oil line, which runs close to the 2HB line, was disturbed and began a leak of mist of fuel oil. The fuel oil was contained in the area and was cleaned via a vacuum truck as it was leaking. Personnel on the scene noted the soil was not contaminated with fuel initially and saw the leak start in 2HA line. It has been estimated that less than 1 gallon of fuel oil was released in the surrounding areas during the troubleshooting of the leak. The fuel oil was immediately vacuumed. The 2HA line was isolated and the leakage was stopped. Thank goodness. It's being repaired and tested. Okay, so I guess that there is no problem. There is no exposure. Doesn't say that there was no danger to anybody, but it does say that it stopped. It remains available and is considered inoperable at this time. Investigation of the 2HB oil line continues. The next NRC, this is for today, folks. This is on the NRC website. For goodness sakes, I forgot to turn the phone off. I'm going to shut my door so that we don't have to hear the phone ringing. I don't know if you can hear it, but I can. This is the day of challenges. You know what they say about challenges? Character building days, folks. That's character building days. Texas Department of State Health Services, Eagle NDT LLC in Texas. Non-emergency, what does it say? Radiographic cameras damage in building fire. Okay, so there was a building fire where they had these radioactive contaminants. And what is the original date? Was 12/20. And the update. There's been 3 days of updates. And it said that the licensee, that the state fire marshal determined that the fire was an electrical short at a plug, which provides no harm to human health. So don't worry about it. No problem. Because what's an extra little bit of radiation in the air anyways? Here's a hospital in New Hampshire, Mary Hitchcock Memorial Hospital, non-emergency medical event involving high-dose rate therapy dose to an unintended location. What? NH Radiological Health Service Agency was notified on November 23rd by chief physicist, followed by an email to the radiation safety officer at Mary Hitchcock Memorial Hospital on November 24th that a high-dose rate therapy dose to an unintended location. The patient and the authorized user were notified of the error, and a correct fraction was administered. What does that mean? An unintended location. The licensee RSO conducted an investigation and interviewed persons involved with the administration. A written explanation of the event was obtained. Cause of incident was identified as equipment malfunction, a deformed transfer tube. So does that mean an unidentified location? What are they talking about? It's not like they're sending it to somebody, but what are they talking about? A correct fraction was administered. I wonder if they're saying that they pumped this guy with radiation in an area of his body that he wasn't supposed to be there. So they're just pumping him up full of radiation. I don't know about you, but I would not ever allow radiation to be pumped into my body. Thanks, but no. Maine Radiation Control Program, Maine General Medical Center, non-emergency, 12/20/2016. What is this called? Medical event involving wrong treatment site. Another one, a wrong treatment site. Is that what this means when they give it to the wrong person? On 12/19, patient was scheduled for initial verification and treatment with electrons of right-sided metastatic rib lesion of 5 fractions of 400 CGY per fraction. Patient was also to be treated with photons to a spinal lesion. Patient had previously been treated to a right-sided rib lesion approximately 11 centimeters superior to the intended treatment site. Treatment location tattoos were present for each of these sites. Failure to identify correct treatment tattoo and confusion over the treatment note led the patient being set up to the previous rib tattoo location and treatment. A single fraction of 400 CGY was delivered to the previous treatment site. Following treatment, the physician suspected a setup error. Further treatment and treatment plan confirmed the error. Wow. Hey, you know what it just occurred to me as I was reading this? I'll bet you 2-1 I can call Michael back. So I think I'm going to see if we can get that one done, because it'd be fun to talk to Michael since he did call in. Let me see if I can dial his number and give him a call. So, Michael, if you're listening, I'm going to give you a call right now, and we'll see if we can tie you in, because that seems to work where I can call people, but they can't call in. So let me see if we can do this. Let me see if I can read your number. Here we go. So maybe, Michael, you'll be able to get in. Will that work? We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if this. I don't know if this will work, but it's an idea. If not, I'll go back to reading these event notifications. Which, the reason I'm thinking about it, because in the back of my head, it sure is making me really angry. So I don't think it's going to work. Hi, Michael. I thought I'd call you back. As I'm reading these NRC event notifications, my blood pressure is rising, and I'm thinking, it sure would be nice to talk to somebody.
Well, I was just going to let you know that in Texas that we actually power our barbecues by nuclear power. So I'm kidding.
Well, Well, I was thinking maybe that's why you guys are all off the charts crazy.
Well, just quit with the facts, woman.
I know. Well, how are you, Michael? I'm glad I called you back because these NRC events, are you listening to this stuff? The way they talk about, they delivered the wrong dose. They injected somebody with in the wrong location. Can you imagine going in for nuclear treatment and they're delivering isotopes? They didn't identify the right tattoo.
Yeah, I worked healthcare for a long time. Yeah, absolutely, I can see that. Yeah. Look, just on the healthcare part of this thing, I mean, not avoiding the whole nuclear issue, just like on the malpractice part, healthcare workers don't get paid well. They really don't, and there's like a big push in the country to move to unlicensed assistive personnel.
Wow.
Oh hell, they call them they used to be called nurses aides, but now they call them like patient care technicians, or something that's got kind of an official sounding title to it, which just means that they can pay somebody to do the same work that a nurse did, and pay them like $11 an hour less.
So
I mean, like that kind of an error. Hell, I've worked in a hospital where we had a brand new nurse, and she was supposed to give a blood transfusion, and she actually put the blood in the microwave to warm it.
Wow.
And it killed the patient. I mean, there is an actual blood warming machine, but yeah, she didn't have time for that blood warming. That takes like a half hour. So she just threw it in the microwave for like 10 seconds. And then the patient died.
Wow.
Yeah,
well, look,
yeah.
There's actually a really great book called Death by Medicine, and it talks about the 1 million people that are killed every single year in the United States by medical malpractice. So
a hospital's the nastiest place in the world. It's full of disease, it's full of bacteria, and then think about this: your loved one is in the hospital, has just had a cracked open chest, some sort of exploratory chest surgery. Just remember, the guy that cleans your grandpa's room makes like $8 an hour.
That's right. Well, that's why there's so much elderly abuse in these retirement homes, because people are just underpaid, and they really, frankly, are abused by their employers, so they pass the abuse along. So it's a really sick system. I mean, that is, in fact, a lot of what we have going on even this whole thing. I mean, I did a post last night. I'm going to clean it up for YouTube. Last night I sort of went off a little bit, but I'm
Good
starting
for
to.
Good for you.
Well,
I think it's important that you rant. I really do.
Well, I definitely did, because there was a guy on Twitter who's been stalking me. He's basically telling me that John Goffman was debunked long ago and that he's a fearmonger. And as it turns out, I'm reading an article called Human Radiation Studies, Remembering the Early Years, an Oral History of John Goffman. I think I talked about this, but part of what John Goffman goes through in the outline is the fact that the NRC basically, he does talk about how they attempted to discredit his testimony in Johnston versus the U.S., and they're sticking with it. They did not discredit it. They attempted to it. But they're just like typical liars. They say a lie, and then they continue to repeat it as if it's the fact.
What's the statement? If you tell a lie, tell a big one, and tell it often, and it eventually becomes the truth.
That's exactly right, and that's how they're operating, which unfortunately is to our detriment.
But we can see that in many things, even outside of like the nuclear industry. We can see it. Just take a look at like the most recent like political thing to come up in the last couple of days. Look at the Israel and Palestine thing. I mean, talk about telling some lies.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, and then on top of that, Netanyahu wants to like declare war on New Zealand. I mean, like New Zealand is like the backup for nicest country in the world. Like when Canada wants to take a day off or something, New Zealand steps up to be nicest country in the world. And Israel wants to like declare war on them because they said, please stop like abusing Palestinians.
Well, this is the interesting part. I saw a guy on television saying that Israel's been there for 3,000 years and they're not going
Oh,
away.
of course, yeah. God said so. The invisible man in the sky said that these people from Poland, Russia, Hungary, Germany have, absolute right to like desert land and can kick out people whose families have truly been there for like 5,000 years.
Well, what it really is a denial of the culture that was there, because before World War II...
Really what it is, it's theft. It's outright goddamn
and
theft.
genocide and
it's not
apartheid.
theft of land, it's theft of life, it's theft of liberty, it's theft of happiness. Yeah, the ultimate thieves. Absolutely.
It's genocide. What I find interesting on this whole thing about the Palestinian issue with the UN is they act like it's, the United States abstained. Every nation voted for this resolution. Every nation. Every nation.
Right. There was 14 nations that voted for it, and the news keeps on going on about how these 12 nations stabbed Israel in the back, and they forget that there was 14 nations. Why don't they mention the other two nations? Because those other two nations said Israel's already a bunch of crap. We don't recognize them.
Right. Well, not only that, and they're also forgetting, they don't even talk about the Palestinians, who frankly are being bombed with depleted uranium weapons all the time. I mean, it is
Palestinians shoved in it at a population density greater than Hong Kong.
That's right. Well, they're trying to say that Gaza is the Palestinian state. That's the weird part. If you look at it, they're saying,
so that means that Gaza that Palestine gets 4 little tiny countries inside of Israel with no kind of like passageway between them.
No, they're saying now
want.
No, they're saying now that the West Bank is not part of Gaza. That's what they're saying.
That doesn't surprise me because the Israelis and the Israeli defenders and American Jews, which by the way, 90% of those settlers in those nifty settlements that are helping the Jewish homeland and all, those are Americans. Those are not people that have any kind of tie to that land. Those are people from New Jersey who got tired of paying New Jersey taxes and wanted someplace warm.
And get all kinds of free stuff over there, too.
Free stuff paid by Americans. Now, remember that Israel said that they're going to stop funding the UN. They're going to stop their little pittance of a payment to the UN, which comes out to be like $10.4 million a year. Whoopie freaking do, because the United States gives Israel $10.8 million a day.
Right. I mean, this is just and the way the Republicans are like freaking out in America.
But it's the Republicans and the Democrats. It's the Republicans and the Democrats. Because seriously, look at somebody like, let's just go with one right off the top of my head, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and look at her reaction to this.
Yeah. Well,
and seriously, look at other things. I mean, there's like a great big double standard here because, well, we're supposed to be this nice, great, inclusive country, and we're the melting pot, and we got to have, let's just say we got to have every sort of mixed race family, like selling Cheerios or something. But the Jewish legislators are actively like campaigning with I think it's called the Lashon program, which is something that is trying to like make sure that Jews only marry Jews. And like there's an active Mark Zuckerberg, who I got no respect for that guy, but he married some Chinese girl, and he was attacked by this Jewish group because he married outside of his race. And the only thing he could do was to, according to these guys, was to denounce or to leave his wife and then denounce any kind of race mixing. Now, you tell me who's the real Nazi at that point.
Well, this is the sad part about Israel. American Jews are super brainwashed. You want to talk about? I've actually lost a family member because of it. She married a Jewish man, and when Israel started attacking and bombing Palestine about 2 years ago, I was posting pictures of what was going on in Palestine. And he basically said I was promoting murderers and liars and to leave them the F alone and to lose their phone number.
You didn't post any pictures of Israelis?
No, there was all Palestinians.
Right,
yes.
Right. So you couldn't have posted like liars and murderers.
Well, the fact is, for every Israeli child that's injured, for every Israeli child that's killed, 200 Palestinian children are murdered. I mean, it's
yes.
one child gets murdered, two, they retaliate by 200%. I mean, the insanity of that whole Palestinian issue is off the charts.
What I find really funny is that a nation who is considered to have one of the best air forces in the world, has the Iron Dome, Uncle Sugar has their back, are deathly afraid of 9-year-old girls with knives.
Well, it's about
that's the entire reasoning behind. Well, they stab our people. Well, I hope they stab more of them, and maybe you people will learn. You're stealing people's land. People get pissed off when you steal their land.
Well, this is the major point with the Israelis, is they believe that's their land, that God gave them that land, that they are entitled to it because God.
With God.
Their God, the only one true God, their God, just like every religion, their one true God. What's ironic is we rail against extreme Islamic terrorism, but what about extreme Israeli terrorism? You know, we don't talk about that either.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's the thing that really gets me is like everything is always, you know, be peaceful and nonviolence and all this. But when Israel needed to have some violence, they sure as hell had it. I mean, look, Rahm Emanuel, who is the mayor of Chicago, who's probably a Mossad member, his parents were in Irgun, which is like the original Israeli terrorist group. They killed women and children, like murdered them straight up. They kidnapped them and killed them. They blew them up. They shot them. They burned them. They burnt houses, and they shot them as they were running out of the houses. Yeah, that's terrorism. But you know, oh no, Israel needed to do it because, you know, blah, 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 Hitler and the Holocaust and God 5,000 years ago in the book. Whatever.
Well, I'll tell you what.
It makes me mad. It makes me really, really mad. And on top of everything else, I got to pay for this shit.
Yeah, well, we don't have a choice, do we? And the hard part is it's really breaking up. I mean, the policy, if we look at the history of what happened, but, you know, interesting little fact, if you go to Google Maps, you will not see Palestine mentioned anywhere on there now. They have effectively eliminated Palestine. So what's ironic is that our country continues to fund and these Republicans are, and the people that are pro-Israel in our government, and many of them are Israeli citizens.
I think that when you start like breaking up into like Republican and Democrat, you're kind of like following their line because it's really not Republican and Democrat.
It's true.
It's Zionist and Americans.
You know, I have to say I'm still super confused on what that term means, Zionist. But what I do know it is this is why
Zionism is racism. Zionism is the purest form of racism. Zionism says that basically the only ones that count are Jews, and they get whatever they need. They have a right to a homeland. Nobody else has a right to a homeland.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, imagine if the Native Americans said, hey, this was our land, and we're going to start a war against the American government, and we're going to start killing everybody and just arresting and shooting children and killing children. And they put children into jail. They put children in jail and interrogate children. I mean, it's the
And then when they die, they steal their organs. And then when they die, they steal their organs and sell them.
You know, the other
Palestinians get their children back, their husbands, their wives back after they've been killed by the Israelis, and their bodies have been raided. They are opened up like they did an autopsy on them, like the bullet in the head isn't the actual defining cause of death. So we got to like take out all their guts and look, we'll just sell this liver to somebody.
Well, it's easy to become what you hate, isn't it? And that's what Israel has shown us, that they have become exactly like the Nazis, that was purportedly the reason why we started Israel, although I genuinely believe that Israel, this is why we keep funding them, because they're a direct arm of the industrial military complex. They're the people that we allow to start the wars around the planet. And, you know, frankly, wasn't it George Bush hired what's the name of the IDF to come in and train the police forces in the United States to become militarized?
I think IDF is a misnomer. When you're shooting 9-year-old girls holding teddy bears, you're no longer a defense force. You're just an army.
True that. I mean, it is but you know, to bring this up in conjunction with reading about Fukushima and the nuclear thing, again, I don't think we can separate it because it's all part of the nuclear arsenal. This wink, wink, we're not acknowledging
Israel's
Israel.
hand in the nuclear arsenal. I mean, look, Iran's been has been 6 months away from completing a nuclear bomb for the last 26 years, but we cannot talk anything about the Dimona plant. We can't talk anything about any of Israel's things. They're not signatories to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. They're not members of the IAEA.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, the rumor is they have 411 nuclear devices. They've got nuclear capable subs with ICBMs. They're probably their first 5 to 11 nuclear bombs are actually American material that made them.
Well, look, Michael, doesn't that really speak to the whole issue of what we're talking about is the lies of the nuclear industry? You're not going to tell me that the United States government and the IAEA don't know about all of these things. They know exactly. It's not a secret.
Right.
It's their little open secret.
They do something about it? Why don't they do something about it? Because they'll be called anti-Semitic.
It's not even the anti-Semitism. I mean, anti-Semitism is the public face of the racism.
Anti-Semitism is a lie. It's a lie. Because guess what? Palestinians are Semitic people.
Right. That's exactly right.
Somebody like, let's just take a very well-known Jew, and we'll take Scarlett Johansson. You know who she is? She's an actress.
Yeah.
She does not have any kind of ties to that land. She is blonde hair, blue eye, pale skin, probably burns underneath a fluorescent light. Her people did not come from the desert.
It is really a sad. I mean, this is what I have been attempting to figure out.
The world in skin cancer. Why does Israel lead the world in skin cancer? Because they have people in that land who don't belong there. You put people from like a cloudy place in Poland immediately into the middle of like desert sun, they don't act well. They don't have, their bodies aren't built for it. They weren't bred for that, so to speak.
My question is, why in the United States do we have this conversation I heard a senator on the television say that it is our moral duty to support. We have always been committed to Israel. It's our moral duty. No, it's not.
We have not. See, that's the biggest bunch of bullshit in the world. We have not always been tied to Israel. As a matter of fact, Israel was very nearly our enemy in the very beginning. Israel was tied up really tight with the Soviet Union. As a matter of fact, there's more Russian spoken in Israel than there is English. Which, let's not talk about, like, did the Russians...
I can't speak to that. I don't know about that. But I do know that it's not our moral obligation. That Israel is really this is the thing, Israel really is an arm of the industrial military complex. The whole state, that's where my niece's husband basically just went livid. I'm like, I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm not anti-Jew. I don't believe that Jews don't have a right to exist and Israel doesn't have a right to exist. What I am saying is that the current Israeli state is a direct arm of the industrial military complex. Period. It is.
Yeah, but you've said something that doesn't put them up, on a pedestal. And once you start doing that, once there's one crack in the armor, then people start looking, and then hey, this is wrong. What are they doing here? And they can't let that start.
Okay, so then this speaks to Operation Paperclip, when they brought in all the Nazis and all these people that really infiltrated our government. So what you're saying basically is that the entire Jewish state is an ultimate racist state.
Paperclip.
It's an ultimate.
Like look at, if you really get into like the Balfour Agreement. That's just like a random partitioning of lines to appease the Rothschild family. I mean, Israel is a gift to the Rothschild family. If you read the Balfour Declaration, that's what it says. We give you this land, Mr. Rothschild. This is your country.
Wow. Well, we're certainly in deep with this because the thing is, it breaks up.
We're in way deep. We're in deep like $38 billion deep.
Yeah.
At a minimum, at a minimum. I mean, that doesn't even account for I think they're getting 100 of the F-35 fighter, which is the brand new American fighter that, I don't know, they cost $3 billion a piece or something like that. They're getting 100 of them. We're giving them 100. You and I, your tax money, my tax money.
Well,
you know, and then, oh well, but Israel is a virtuous state, and look, we've got free health care, and we invent all these things. Well, yeah, because you got somebody else fighting the fights you people pick. I mean, it'd be easy for us to probably have free health care for everybody if we weren't spending lives and blood in the Middle East fighting over basically the Greater Israel Plan.
well, so this is exactly, reading the Balfour thing is exactly why this vote happened. In this Balfour Agreement, it states, it being clearly understood that nothing shall be done that shall prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country. So, I mean, what's happened, and this is why these settlements, I mean, they're planning on building 300,000 new houses. I mean, they're moving along.
Out there, they can go to the Remax real estate. You can go to the Remax Israel website, and you can find out exactly how much one of them houses costs. They're nice houses. They're 5-bedroom, 3-bath with a 2-car garage sitting on 2 acres of land. They got walls around them. They're very nice houses. But guess what? You and I can't buy one of those, even though you and I paid for it.
This is we stepped into a huge pile of dog dirt on this one, man, because this one is so mixed up.
We finally walked forward. I think we didn't step into a pile of dog turds. We have been avoiding the pile of dog turds for forever, and this was the only path forward.
Yeah,
it's
well,
something
I'm
that
actually,
has to be discussed.
I was stunned by our elected officials' responses, because I was really happy that the United States abstained and allowed this vote to happen. It's the first time that the United States has allowed any kind of condemnation of Israel to even occur at all at the United Nations. The United States has blocked every single effort for justice in Palestine since the get-go. And so this is, and when Trump says, oh, things are going to be different, so let's just see what Trump is going to do. It's going to be
Trump saying things are going to be different means things are going to be the same.
You think so? I don't.
That's what his message of things will be different means. It means things will go back to the way they were, where Israel doesn't get called out for being a bunch of assholes.
Well, not only that we're going to dig in deep and give them our money. We're going to be taking away money from American children and American working families and giving it to Israel.
Do you think let's take that $38 billion and cut it down to a yearly allotment of $3.8 billion? Do you think we could fix the water supply in Flint or in all of Michigan, in all of the Rust Belt with $3.8 billion? Probably it might take 7.4 billion or 7.6 billion in 2 years worth of the money, but we would have it fixed.
Well, we have water problems all over this entire nation, Michael. We have water. We have tritium. We have high levels of tritium and nitrates in more than a third of the water in this country.
Yeah, but those just kill you. The problem is the lead in the water, because the lead leads to violence, and that's there's no any kind of doubting that lead poisoning leads to violence. And in the United States, when we cut the lead out of the gasoline, lead poisoning leads to violence. There's an interaction between lead and the human brain that causes violence.
Wow. Where did you learn that?
In the United States, when we cut out lead in the gasoline in the United States, the violence levels in this country dropped dramatically, and they've been dropping ever since, really. I mean, yeah, it sounds like we're horrible because, oh, my God, somebody shot up a school. But you know what? We have 300 million people in this country. When 13 die, 13 people die,
This was June 19, 2015. Studies link childhood lead exposure and violent crime.
Absolutely.
You're absolutely right. Scholars at Harvard found this. That's who did it. lead
Hell, if
emissions
you want to get
cause?
into it, lead poisoning was the cause of the fall of the Roman Empire.
Huh.
They used lead acetate as a sweetener, and only the elite could afford that. Sugar was kind of a new item to them, sweeteners like that, and lead acetate tastes sweet. They didn't know.
Wow. Wow. Well, we're watching the demise of our own culture, of our own country. It is just, this is why 2017 is really a hard year to look forward to, because from what I see with this new administration, it's going to be way worse. All the progress that we've made socially, they're going to really make an effort to bring it all back. And
there's been no social progress in this country. The only social progress in this country is that somebody gets outraged and a transgender 8-year-old wants to join the Boy Scouts. That's the only social progress we've made.
Look, there is progress. As a woman in this culture, I'll tell you what, I'm 60 years old. I see the difference myself as a woman. There has been progress made in this culture because the conversation is at least discussed. 40 years ago, when I was a younger woman, even though we were in the throngs of the women's liberation movement, there were many things that women just were not even allowed, or even it was just considered.
So what do people say when they find out that the women's liberation movement was an entirely CIA-run operation? When they find out somebody like Gloria Steinem, the icon of the women's movement, the author of Miss Magazine, was a CIA employee. What do you at that point? Do you still think that that's progress?
I have not ever heard that, Michael.
You should look that one up. Gloria Steinem was a CIA employee.
Well, see, for me, when I think about that, is that sounds like fake news to discredit her, because
go ahead and look it up. Go ahead and look it up, because you're going to find out that news came out far before the current fake news rush came out. Gloria Steinem and Miss Magazine were established with a CIA-funded grant.
I'm not so sure I buy that. I'm not so sure I will buy that. I will look that up, because a lot of the work.
I'm going to stick by the statement. I feel so secure in it, I will stick by it.
Okay. Well, let's have this conversation again, because I'm not so sure I actually can agree with that. And I'm not a big Gloria Steinem fan. I don't know too much about her, so I can't really say. But I will tell you what, the movement of women deciding that they're not going to sit in the kitchen anymore is, and we're not going to
that was decided
two pages behind.
Women not sitting in the kitchen and getting out and getting a job. And I'm not advocating like a revert to taking off your shoes and you don't need a watch because there's a clock on the stove kind of thinking. What I'm saying is that women going out into the workplace provided a greater tax base, and then it also takes the children and warps the children. They are no longer family strong, and you get basically what you got today.
Well, I do agree with you. I do think it's really important for women to be mothers. That's like the primary job. You know what? I can't believe it. We only have like 20 seconds left. Thank you for calling in, Michael, and I'm glad that I called you back. We were able to have this.
I hope you get some time and come on my show again.
I hope I do. Thanks. We'll connect, and I will definitely come on your show.
Okay. All right. Be good. Thank you.
Thank you. And put your courage feet on, you guys. Take action. Call our elected officials and tell them that we need to end the nuclear program. Put your courage feet on. We'll talk to you soon.
Aussie skateboard.